Well, it's that time of year again. Corned beef is about $1.50 a pound, so you know we're near St. Patrick's Day. It's great to stock up on them when it's that cheap. Throw a bunch of them in the freezer, thaw them during the year, use them for corned beef or pastrami sandwiches. You can make your own pastrami. But of course, it's March and it's close to St. Patrick's Day, and this is sort of an American tradition. Ironically, I did a little bit of research on this. Corned beef and cabbage is not traditional in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day, but they do eat it once in a while. So we're going to do it in the crock pot. It's a great way to do a corned beef because it cooks low and slow. So we're going to start with I got about 8 little red potatoes here. That's enough for maybe 2 per person. So those will go in the bottom. I like carrots and celery in with my corned beef. Not so much to eat them necessarily because I'm not the biggest fan in the world of cooked carrots, but they add a really nice flavor to the cooking liquid. So I'm going to cut the ends off the carrots and save that for stock. And you've seen us do this before more than once. And then the carrots can just go into fairly big chunks. And those can go in the crock pot as well. And I like the flavor of a little celery. So you can take the entire stalk. Here's the easy way to do it. You can see the ends are a little bit brown, so let's just cut the ends off, save those for stock. And then I like cutting off the ends because you get the leaves as well. It sort of tastes a little bit like parsley, and I don't mind that flavor at all. Let's maybe make a few 1-inch chunks. That's about all you need. That's probably, I don't know, maybe a cup. So we'll put those in as well. That'll give the broth a really nice flavor. And of course you got to have an onion. And normally you've seen the way I cut the onion. I would cut both ends off, but today I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cut the top off, save that for stock. And I am going to actually peel off a little bit of the papery skin. And then this end right here, I'm going to leave it intact at the end and cut through the end so the onion doesn't come apart in 2 million pieces. And as the paper comes off, that's fine. We're going to take it off even more. Okay, so now you've got the root end intact here, and the onion should stay together. I am going to take this opportunity to take off the outermost layer, and again, we'll use that for stock. And I actually have a couple of cloves of garlic. It's not traditional, but I like the flavor. But they're small cloves, so I'll just put them right in. You don't want it overwhelmingly garlicky like pastrami would be. That's a whole different dish. Now, the beef. I've had the beef soaking for about 2 days in the fridge, just in plain water, because I find that the people who make the corned beef tend to make it a little too salty for my taste. So I've got it here in this bucket. These are points, supposedly, based on the packaging. The points are the best. I've talked about that before. They have the best flavor. They're going to be softer, juicier. They won't dry out. Points, the other advantage of them is that they're usually cheaper. And that's certainly a good thing in this economy. You can see they've got quite a bit of fat on them. You could trim a lot of this off. I don't really care about that much. You can skim the fat off at the end. So if you look, this actually looks a lot more like a flat if you look at how it's put together right along here, but it does have this really nice stuff from the point. This is clearly a point because it's got bizarre pieces of meat running in different directions. I'm making 2 because I want plenty of leftovers, but you know, you could certainly just make 1. I like to have corned beef sandwiches. So just nestle these in to the crock pot on top of the veg. A little bit of space here we can fill in with the onion. And as you can see, this really pretty much fills up my crock pot. If you had an enormous one, you could put the cabbage on top and cook it along with it as long as you didn't submerge the cabbage in the water. That would sort of gently steam it without overcooking it. However, in this case, the crock pot is about as full as it can be, so I'm just going to add enough water to barely cover the corned beef. And whoa, right up to the top practically. So that's on high. We're going to let it go for about 5 hours. After about 4 hours, I'm going to check it, and if the corned beef itself is pretty much done, I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to do the cabbage in that cooking liquid. One more thing. These little spice packets that come with the corned beef, they tell you to use those. I tend to not, because if I'm going to cook the cabbage in that liquid, all these little granules and seeds get caught up in the cabbage and then you're crunching down on them. I don't love that. You might not mind, and if that's okay with you, that's fine. Also, I find these corned beefs are pretty well seasoned on their own. They don't need a lot of additional seasoning. However, this is a nice airtight package. It came with the corned beef. I'm going to save these, and I can use these to make a pastrami or to make pickles with, or any other kinds of seasoning. So we're not wasting it. We're not throwing them away. We are going to use these. So again, 4 to 5 hours on high, and then we'll check it and put the cabbage in later. Well, it's been a little over 5 hours that it's been on high in the crock pot. You could make it actually take a little less time by using boiling water in the beginning instead of cold water, because it takes a good hour or two just for the crock pot to bring that water up to temperature. So that's a good way to save some time. Now, the beef is not quite finished yet, but the vegetables are, and this gives us a good opportunity to put the cabbage in. So I'm going to take the beef out and put it on a platter for the moment. And you can see this stuff has shrunk measurably. And up there, I got a potato there too, and you can see the potato holds together. That's why we didn't cut them into pieces. We kept them whole. And the vegetables, while quite well cooked, are not mush by any definition. So I'm going to put this here in the plate just to create room to put our cabbage in. I'll move this off to the side for the moment. And I have a very nice, rather small head of cabbage here that I got at the supermarket. Also, because it's St. Patrick's week, it's on sale. Market I bought this at today, this was 49 cents a pound. Tomorrow, another sale starts at a different market where it's going to be 39 cents a pound. So we're going to cut this up, but we're going to make sure that we leave this core intact. You don't want the cabbage to fall apart and become a million separate leaves in the crock pot. I guess you could, but I think it's better to eat when it's in wedges. So I'm going to cut it right down the middle, and I'm going to cut each half in half, and then each quarter into half. So I'll have 8 wedges, but I'm trying to be really careful to leave this core piece in all of the pieces. Okay. So yeah, I've got a bit of core in most of those pieces, so it shouldn't all disintegrate too badly. So now we can put the cabbage into the liquid. Try not to dip your hands into boiling liquid if you can avoid it. And let this go for about a half hour. I want to put the corned beef back on top so it will continue to sort of steam a little bit and finish cooking, because it probably doesn't need much more than another half hour. So there's the cabbage. Extra leaves can go in. And then the beef can go on top. And try to splash as much as you possibly can when you put the beef in. It's much more fun that way. Okay. So the cabbage is fully submerged in the boiling liquid, simmering now. Hopefully it'll come back to a boil. Let's let it go for another half hour or so, and then we'll check it. Well, total time has been about 6 hours now. We've had the cabbage in for about a half hour. Looks pretty tender, I think. Let's take it out and see how we did. First, let's check the corned beef. Well, looks pretty done. It was very easy to cut through, trim off a little of this fat. Although, as you know, I'm not really afraid of fat here. Very tender, still very moist. It's a good thing we soaked it because it's still plenty salty. If it was more salty than this, I'm not sure how good it would be. So, all right. Let's cut some nice slices. You can see the knife is just gliding right through it with no effort at all. And the cabbage is very soft but not mushy, and you'll notice It still has its color. It has not turned that sort of horrible gray that you see with overcooked vegetables sometimes. And of course, one wedge did blow apart on us. And I've got the vegetables, which I've kept hot under some foil. And these potatoes, you'll see, have held together nicely. And the onions also in nice quarter chunks, so you get a nice bit of onion. The carrots are definitely well done, but they are not turning to mush, nor is the celery. There's your corned beef and cabbage boiled dinner for St. Patrick's Day, even though they don't eat this in Ireland. Just fabulous. Juicy, tender, not too salty, not tasting of fake chemicals or anything like that. Always better when you make it yourself. Delicious.